If you've ever tried to travel with just a personal item bag, you know what it feels like to cut out gear you've gotten real used to traveling with. But if you've managed to figure it out, you know how freeing it feels. There's no baggage fees or waiting at the luggage carousel, and since personal items are usually pretty small and lightweight, they're a lot more comfortable than a large travel backpack. So in this video, I'll walk you through everything we've learned about making personal item travel feel like a breeze. Let's start with the bag itself, because this is where most people go wrong. By definition, a personal item is the bag that goes under the seat in front of you. A carry-on is the one that goes in the overhead bin. It can get kind of confusing, especially with international airlines, because they don't always use the same terminology. For example, Cebu Pacific calls it a hand carry item, while Kenya Airways says accessory. So don't get hung up on what it's called, it's more about where it goes, aka under the seat in front of you. For the sake of this video, we'll only call it a personal item. This style bag generally falls somewhere in the 13 to 20 liter range, but the airline you're flying is what determines what bags qualify, since they all have different size restrictions. What I do is list out the maximum allowed dimensions of every airline I'll be flying for a trip and find a bag that fits the tightest one. For reference, a lot of US domestic airlines allow bags around 18 by 14 by 8 inches, though some cap it at 17 by 13 by 8. Some airlines, like Southwest, won't even publish an official size, they just say it has to fit, which is pretty annoying. The online consensus puts it around 16.25 by 13.5 by 8, so it's a little smaller than the rest. International airlines tend to be stricter, often closer to 16 by 12 by 8, and, this is important, they're way more likely to actually check your bag size if it looks too big. When in doubt, play it safe, especially internationally. Another thing to pay attention to on international airlines is weight. A lot of them have restrictions on carry-on weight, but if you read the fine print, they also include the weight of your personal item bag in the total. So if you're traveling with multiple bags or you plan on overstuffing one, make sure you weigh it before you leave. In regards to style, we generally recommend going with a backpack over a roller bag. In our experience, airlines are far more likely to flag a suitcase as too big and make you check it at the gate. And when you're narrowing down your bag options, follow the Price is Right rule. Get as close to the size limit as you can without going over. You can always pack less to accommodate a smaller bag, but you can't shrink a bag that's already too big. The next thing to think about is accessibility. You want easy access to your stuff once you're on the plane, which is why we're big fans of top-loading bags. You can put the gear you want most towards the top and grab it without having to pull the entire bag out from under your seat. If your bag has multiple pockets, make sure at least one faces outward and put your essentials there. If you spread things out too much, you'll end up flipping the bag around trying to find what you need. Sometimes you can kick the bag around while it's under the seat, but you may need to haul it up onto your lap, which isn't easy to do when you're already pretty cramped for space. Bucket-style bags, where the zipper runs along the top, are great for accessibility because you can easily flip the lid open to get a pouch or an extra layer. Clamshell bags, on the other hand, make it tougher to quickly get items out of the main compartment. They open more towards the center, so you basically need the whole bag open to grab anything, and you don't have room for that at your seat. So if you do go that route, make sure there's at least one easy access pocket for your essentials. Roll tops are also worth considering if you want flexibility in how tall your bag can get. They're a little more annoying to access mid-flight, but you can expand them on airlines that are a little more lenient, like Delta, or cinch them down tight for something stricter, like Ryanair. And if you're traveling with a laptop, look for a bag with its own dedicated laptop compartment so it's easy to grab. Even if you don't want to use it on the airplane, you'll have to take it out at security, so you don't want it buried under all of your gear. After all, how you pack is just as important as what you pack. Whether your bag has a lot of built-in organization or you opt for packing cubes, you want a designated place for everything. We're big fans of compression cubes specifically. Yes, we know some people argue that they take up unnecessary space and don't make enough of a difference, but we mostly love them because they keep your clothes from unrolling and shifting around when you open the bag. As for the rest of your gear, where and how you store it comes down to preference. Traveling personal item only means you're probably not carrying a ton of miscellaneous items, so a large tech pouch may just take up valuable space. Instead, I like to keep all of my flight essentials like my headphones, mini tripod, and Kindle page turner in a small pouch that I store in the seat back pocket right when I board. Larger items like my Kindle get a spot in the quick access pocket. There are often places to store gear on the outside of your bag too. However, use them carefully. You don't want a ton of stuff clipped to the exterior, swinging around and knocking into people. This also may be obvious, but just in case, you shouldn't put anything valuable here either. It's too easy to snatch and grab. Personally, I only use this strategy sparingly and only in the airport itself. Before boarding, I'll clip on 1 or 2 items to the outside so I'm not digging through my bag once I sit down. And as I'm boarding, I'm careful not to swing too much side to side so that my stuff doesn't hit people in the face. On a recent trip to London, I clipped that pouch with my flight essentials to an exterior loop since I knew I'd want to stash them in my seat pocket right away. Once I landed, I tucked everything back into the bag. I've also clipped my collapsible water bottle on when I want quick access and wasn't doing much walking. Some people go as far as attaching sandals or a sun hat. I've done the hat thing to keep it from getting crushed, but be cautious with anything like shoes since that's extra gross if you hit someone with it. You can also utilize external bungee cords for things like an extra layer or neck pillow, which usually take up too much room inside the bag. However, the goal is to fit your gear inside the bag, not rely on having it off the outside because you overpacked. This brings us to our next point. Choose what you bring wisely. Clothing is typically what eats up the most space in your bag if you're not intentional about it. An extra top or pair of pants later, and suddenly you need to size up your bag. I know we harp on it a lot, but this is where a capsule wardrobe earns its reputation. If you're not familiar, it's the strategy of packing a handful of pieces that all mix and match so you cut down on the amount you bring without getting bored of your outfits. I just tried the Sudoku method and loved it, but a lot of people swear by the 5-4-3-2-1 method. We won't go too much into detail on those in this video, so let us know in the comments if you want us to do a video on different packing styles. We're also big advocates for layering instead of relying on bulky items. A thin puffer layered with a zip-up and/or a long sleeve underneath can be a replacement for a parka, depending on where you're going, of course. Trips to the Arctic are a different beast entirely. Cargo shorts are another trick, since you can stash small items in the pockets instead of your bag. No matter what you pack, you'll want to wear your bulkiest items on the plane, whether it's a pair of thick joggers or a jean jacket. For example, I'll wear my hiking boots on the flight and bring a low-profile pair of everyday shoes in my bag. If you don't need to bring any specialty gear like boots, try to stick to 1 pair of shoes. They take up a ridiculous amount of space in a bag, so if you can get away with wearing 1 pair the entire time, that's the move. Speaking of doing more with less, dual-use items are a total game changer. Swimsuits are a great example. A one-piece can double as a tank top, and some swim trunks look like regular shorts but are designed to be worn in water too. Athleisure is another great option if it fits your style. You can hike and work out in it, but it's also more acceptable now to be worn casually. Meanwhile, your packable puffer can double as a pillow on the plane, though personally I'd rather use it as a warm layer, so I opt for a neck pillow that doubles as a packing cube. And when it comes to tech, if you're not traveling for work, consider leaving the laptop behind and bringing a tablet or just using your phone. We're also big fans of universal cables, so you can charge more devices without bringing a cord for each one. Basically, consolidate wherever you possibly can. Like with toiletries. I like to pack everything into my 3-1-1 bag. A lot of airports have relaxed on asking you to pull out your liquids, so I know a lot of people will pack toiletries in a regular bag and bring a clear Ziploc just in case, but I like to put everything in a roomier clear toiletry bag so I'm prepared if I have to take it out. It's easy to fit all of your stuff inside if you only bring what you'll actually use for the length of your trip. For a week-long trip, you don't need a full 3.3-ounce bottle of lotion. An ounce will probably do. Also, skip anything your hotel or Airbnb is likely to provide, like a hairdryer or a specific body wash. Just bring what's specific to you. If you've got sensitive skin, bring your preferred face wash. If you need hot tools for your hair, maybe that means leaving a pair of pants behind to make room. Packing light comes down to making key trade-offs like this. Once you get used to it, you'll start wondering why you ever packed that extra outfit in the first place. Entertainment is so easy to streamline too. Load ebooks, podcasts, and app versions of your favorite games onto your phone instead of packing physical books or a gaming console. Bring AirPods or another small pair of headphones instead of bulky over-ear ones. And if you'd rather read on paper than a screen, you can usually pick up a cheap paperback at a used bookstore or a little free library at your destination, then donate it back before you head home. It's also worth thinking about your destination itself. We're not saying go spend a bunch of extra money, but depending on where you're headed, you might be able to pick up certain items once you land and leave them behind when you go. Anything from toothpaste to a full outfit. If you end up needing a jacket, grab one secondhand at your destination and donate it back at the end of the trip. That said, this only works if you'll actually have access to shops. When I was in Tanzania, I wasn't often near any stores, so I made sure to pack all of my essentials up front and only left behind things I was fairly confident I could pick up later if I really needed them. At the end of the day, personal item-only travel comes down to packing with intention. Everything you bring has to fit within your airline's restrictions, or it's just not going to work. That means making some serious cuts and leaving a few creature comforts behind. But once you get the hang of it, the freedom of traveling light makes it more than worth it. What's the smallest capacity bag you've ever personal item traveled with? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.